Hi, guys. So remember last time we met, feels like a long time ago. We had spent a couple days. Each of you should have chosen an eco scenario, remember, based on over your topics over here. And we spent some time just investigating, researching things like, for example, if I chose Delaware, what type of environment am I in? What type of non living factors play a role? What type of biotic living factors play a role? And then we played around with Padlet, and you guys did a pretty good job of posting scenarios. I read them, and many of you did a good job responding to them as well. So, what we want to do now, today, really quickly, is to take a step back and look at something called a biome. In biomes, we've studied all of our levels, populations, communities, ecosystems. Biomes are sort of a little bit bigger. They're kind of a unifying level. And a lot of people confuse them, but they're actually really, really easy. So, what I want to do is show you really quickly what they are, give you a definition of them, and then let you try investigating your own biome in doing so. So, what I'm going to do is I will now pull up our little guide here just to point out a few things, and we'll go forward from there. So remember that, remember your eco scenario, and you should be at the point where you can, like we just said, include all the abiotic factors, describe your eco scenario. Where is it? Uh, Things like temperature, rainfall, sunlight. What are the major non living aspects? And then also, you should at this point be pretty familiar with when they say dominant, they mean the most common types of plants and animals and living organisms. And I think you guys can do that. What we want to see now, it's kind of strange, is this idea of a biome. Uh, because if we think about it, and we'll use an example of a desert here, that your eco scenario you chose in that one location is not the only example of that eco scenario, of that ecosystem. So, like for example, if we look at a desert, I had used the Sonoran Desert in our Padlet example, and you stop and think: are all deserts the same? Like if you compared your Sonoran Desert and we went and looked at all the living things and non-living things, would that be exactly the same as, let's say, the Sahara Desert? Or what about, there could even be examples of deserts where it's actually not even hot. There are things called cold deserts. So if you think about that, would all deserts have the same plants and animals? And that's probably not true. Like in the Sahara Desert, we might find camels, but we definitely don't have camels in the Sonoran Desert here in the United States. So we want to start to think about, like, what might cause those actual differences. Why, even though they're deserts, um, they're similar in their deserts, but they're also very different. So what are those actual differences? So we're going to look at what we can refer to a desert as is really is called a biome, and it's like a step up. And that all that is a group of similar ecosystems that have similar climates and communities. So, like if we just said a desert, that's fine. Like if I said picture a desert, you might picture like our Sonoran Desert, but not all deserts look like that. They're similar and they have similar climates. There are abiotic factors that make them a desert, but they also will have some differences. Um, so the main defining factor is their abiotic parts, but like we just said, our example a few seconds ago, camels are living biotic, and they you can find them in the Sahara Desert in Africa, but you don't find them in the United States. So what we want to do is I've got a list here of these are the major biomes on the Earth, and if we just look at them really quickly, like for example, we were just mentioning deserts. There can be hot deserts like the two we use, Sonoran Desert and the Sahara Desert, but there can even be cold deserts, like in the middle of Asia, called Gobi Desert, where it's a desert by definition, but it's actually really, really, really cold. Not at all like the Sahara Desert. Or if I said, picture, close your eyes and picture a forest, chances are you'd probably picture a forest like we have around here. Those are called temperate deciduous forests. Our forests are mixes. We have summer, we have winter, but not all of them are like that. Think about how different a rainforest is compared to the forest we have here, like a tropical rainforest or a rainforest in like northwestern United States. We actually have rainforests here out in like Seattle and Washington State, very different from our forest, which is very different from a rainforest. So if you look at this list on here, there actually are there's a pretty large number of biomes, and we just want to spend some time looking at them. Remember, you can find ecosystems within these biomes, but they're going to be a little bit different based off of what they are actually exhibiting, what type of characteristics. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, and I'll show you the link here in a second, is we're going to go back to FOSS and the website's going to look really similar to our eco scenarios, but we're going to investigate biomes here. So I'm going to pause and go back to our biome website on here. And what we actually can do, I'm going to go back to our module detail here. And if we click on our biomes link again, what we're going to see is that it's going to look, be careful, it's going to look an awful lot like your eco scenario system that we played around with, but it is a little bit different in what's going to happen here. It's we can see here that it gives us, now it shows us the whole planet, not just the United States. And what I'm going to ask that you do is we're going to go through and we have the option, we can show our biomes. So if you go back to the ecosystem, you actually have the option, you can go back and look at your eco scenario. So let's say I've chosen as a different example, well, let's say this tall grass prairie national preserve. Let's say that was mine. I found where it is. I can go and visit my eco scenario. And remember, you already know about its abiotic and biotic factors. But notice up here, it tells us the biome, it's something called a temperate grassland. And down over here, they actually show us where you can find grasslands. Now, obviously in the United States, right here in the center, that's fine, that's great, okay, so what? But notice that there also are temperate grasslands over here in Asia that stretch along a similar range. There's some down here in South America. There are even some in Australia. So you can actually, you have the option to, we can click on and find more about that temperate grassland. Or you can either access it from there, or you can go back to our biome site that we had originally looked at. And you can go back to the world map of them and you can pick on the different biomes this way. So ours was a temperate grassland. So if I click on that, it shows me where in the world. Notice there's some even over here in the US, a lot of them in the central US. They're all over the place. So what do they have in common? They're going to be similar. They have similar characteristics. And we can click on them. We can actually go down over here and we can click on, there's a PDF file as well. So we have a lot of different things. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just like we do with our eco scenarios, read about the different biomes. Like your ecosystem is right here, but do you think that you're going to have the same exact ecosystem as, let's say, a grassland over here in Asia or down over here in Australia? Just give you a really quick another example. Let's say, we'll go back to, we had used it before, the desert. Like my Sonoran desert is right here. Notice they've color coded it tan here, and this orangish color. But that desert is going to be super, super different from the desert here, which will be pretty different from the desert here. They're all deserts because they share some similar characteristics. But I want you to spend some time investigating how and why they're different. So I'm going to ask that you go through and you research your particular eco scenario, find what biome it's in, and then you have the option, the ability to, you can click on and see where they are. They've got a key down here. And you also can go back and you can click on down here, there's a PDF, and read about what makes a desert, how is it similar. Just to show you one more example here, something called, let's say, someone had asked in one of our things, had mentioned a tundra. Um, there are tundras. There are you can see right here. Let's say alpine tundra. If we look in the world, this purple. So there's some stuff here, even up in the Rocky Mountains. But again, the Rocky Mountains are not going to be like the tundra that's over here, or the tundra. There's even a tundra in Africa. Think about how different they would be. So again, I'm going to ask you to research. If we go and look at our individual classroom, remember, I have our stuff in our population network, and then how you're going to demonstrate. I would suggest that you jot down. You'll see later this week. You're going to want to take some notes on what you're doing about your individual ecosystem, and then again, an exit ticket. There's a few questions I'm going to ask you to just tell me really basically about your biome. Pretty simple. All right. So with that, remember we're looking at our biome sites. You can start here with your eco scenarios, or you can click on the biomes. Either one is available. And we're just going to try to do some fact finding for stuff we're going to use for the rest of this week. Remember, we're going to keep going back to our eco scenarios. Now we're just trying to gather information to become experts. All right. I'll video here, and I'll let you guys get down to business.